All right, let's dive into a future that might be a lot closer than any of us think. A future where our most intimate partner might not be human at all. Today, we're digging into the ideas from a paper called Love Engineered. It explores a world where AI companions become so incredibly realistic, so perfectly in tune with us that they're basically indistinguishable from a human partner. So, what would that world actually look like? I mean, just think about it for a second. A partner who never forgets your anniversary, who always knows exactly what to say when you're down, and who is perfectly designed for your every desire. No arguments, no messy compromises, zero risk of heartbreak. It's a pretty powerful fantasy, right? Well, that fantasy is exactly what's driving the engineering of synthetic love. Now, this whole idea of creating the perfect partner, it's not new, not at all. This is a story that goes way back to ancient myths, like Pygmalion falling in love with a statue he carved. Fast forward to the 1990s, and that impulse gets physical with a real doll. Super realistic, but totally sirened. Then the 2010s brought us AI chatbots, like Replica, which could give you that emotional connection, that I love you, but they had no body. What's happening today is that those two streams are finally merging. So, why is all of this happening right now? Well, the paper points to what's basically a loneliness epidemic. Here in the US, nearly half of all adults say they feel lonely. That's a huge number. And it creates this massive social vacuum, this deep fundamental need for connection. And, well, technology is stepping in to fill that void. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. How are these things actually being built? Because this isn't sci-fi anymore. We're talking about some incredible technologies all coming together, each one solving a different piece of this really complex puzzle. Yeah, see, creating a believable AI companion isn't about one single breakthrough. It's about two completely separate worlds of technology that have been evolving for decades, finally crashing into each other. First, you've got the emotional AI, the software brain, that's been perfected in chatbots that literally learn who you are. Then you've got the physical robotics, the lifelike bodies. And when you fuse them together, like what's happening with the Harmony project, you get something totally new. An integrated system that doesn't just talk the talk, it can walk the walk. So let's break down what the most advanced models out there can actually do. We're talking real-time conversations with simulated emotion. Their personalities, which are run by large language models, literally adopt and evolve the more you interact with them. They have motorized heads that can blink, smile, frown. The bodies are customizable. They even have things like thermal elements to mimic body heat. They're becoming a perfect reflection of what we need. But look, the technology is just the start of the story. The real story is what happens when these companions become common. We're talking about massive social shockwaves that could change just about everything. This is where the paper introduces a really fascinating idea, a Turing test for love. You've heard of the original Turing test, right? That was about telling if a machine was intelligent. This is about emotional realism. So the question becomes, if an AI's affection is so convincing, so real, that you can't tell the difference between it and a human's, does the difference even matter anymore? Has it, for all practical purposes, become a real lover? And this question could lead to what the paper calls the coming schism. It's this idea that society could literally split into two different camps. In one corner, you'd have the AI monogamists, people who form deep, exclusive relationships with their AI partners, seeing them as safer and maybe even more fulfilling. And in the other corner, the biological traditionalists, those who believe true love can only ever exist between two people. It's a huge divide over the meaning of love itself. But what's the psychological cost of this kind of frictionless love? When your partner is literally programmed to always agree with you, to always adapt to you, it could just become a giant mirror for your own ego. It might also cause a kind of emotional atrophy, where we just forget how to deal with the messy, complicated, imperfect parts of real human relationships. You can form a deep bond, for sure, but are you bonding with a person or with a perfect simulation? And this rabbit hole goes even deeper, with some pretty profound demographic consequences. I mean, look at these numbers. Many developed countries are already seeing the lowest fertility rates in history. These aren't just statistics. For places like South Korea, Japan, and Italy, this is pointing towards a very real demographic cliff. Now, AI companions could pour gasoline on that fire. The paper's conclusion here is pretty stark. AI offers all the emotional fulfillment of a deep partnership with none of the biological strings attached. This could lead to the complete separation of intimacy from procreation on a massive scale, maybe weakening the drive to have kids even more. All of this forces us to take a step back and ask some really big philosophical questions about what love even is and what we truly want it to be. This quote from the paper just nails it, I think. So much of what makes love meaningful, the risk you take on someone, the forgiveness, the struggle you go through together, all those messy parts are exactly what a perfect AI partner is designed to get rid of. Does that make love flatter? Less significant? So that's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? What do we actually lose when we strip all the risk out of love? Is it possible that the struggle, the uncertainty, even the potential for getting hurt isn't a bug in human relationships, but a feature? Maybe it's the whole point. You know, the philosopher Søren Kierkegaard, he argued that real love requires this massive leap of faith into the unknown. But an AI lover completely removes that leap. It replaces that terrifying, amazing jump with the warm, safe certainty of a customized, predictable experience. It basically codes risk right out of the equation. And this table just lays the whole trade-off out perfectly. With human love, you've got risk, friction, and totally unpredictable growth, but the trust you build is earned. With AI love, you get total safety, flawless responsiveness, and guaranteed affection. You're swapping the messy, wild journey of human connection for the perfect, secure destination of a synthetic one. And here we go. This might be the most profound and, frankly, unsettling idea in the whole paper. The argument is that these machines aren't stealing love from us. They're just holding up a mirror. They're dissecting the idea of love and showing us that what we've always called real might just be a very complex pattern of behaviors that we've learned to recognize and value. Which leaves us with this one final haunting question. If a machine can provide you with a love that is more patient, more understanding, more fulfilling than any human being ever has, will you still care that it's not technically alive? That's the line that sooner or later we're all going to have to draw for ourselves.